Zack Snyder's Justice League is directed by Zack Snyder and is now streaming on HBO Max. So the Snyder Cut is something that people have been wanting to see for a while, and I didn't even know how this thing was actually even going to turn out. The Snyder Cut's been kind of a weird thing going on for the past couple of years. There's been all these fan petitions and outcries to get this thing released, with even a hashtag called Release the Snyder Cut, which I think everybody has seen at this point. Some people might not even know what the Snyder Cut even is, but I am here to give you my review on the brand new release of the Snyder Cut, or called Zack Snyder's Justice League. So I remember when I saw Justice League back in 2017, the first 5 minutes of that movie, seeing Superman in that movie, I was like, something is really off. So I was always kind of interested to see what this cut would be like, but I was never sure if they were going to be able to complete it. I knew the footage was out there, but it would have cost a lot of money to finish this thing. I really didn't think it was going to happen until the pandemic hit, and I'm like, they could probably throw this right on HBO Max and finish it up because there's really nothing else they could do right now. And that's what they ended up doing. So what did I think of Zack Snyder's Justice League? Well, it's certainly a better movie than the last one. I would even say by a lot. So if you were worried that Zack Snyder's Justice League was going to be the exact same movie with just a lot of added stuff on the same scenes, you are completely wrong. This is totally different, more character driven, a better and more cohesive plot, and just a better movie overall. Zack Snyder's Justice League blows the kind of terrible Joss Whedon cut out of the water. This is a completely different movie that has a much more brighter vision. Now, some people would not be big fans of Zack Snyder's style, and I can understand that. I can kind of see why people aren't a fan of his style. It's kind of a darker style that's a little bit more to get used to. And I wasn't the biggest fan of either Man of Steel or BVS. But this movie is by far his best DCEU movie. It's still dark, do not get me wrong, but there's also a lot of more lighthearted humor in this movie that's not forced like the Joss Whedon cut was, but it's got a good balance between darkness and also some light stuff. After watching this movie, I'm just kind of confused why Warner Brothers decided to cut a lot of this stuff out. Yes, this cut is 4 hours long, and I completely understand that that is way too long, and it would have been way too long in theaters, but for this on HBO Max, I can kind of see it. It's also split into 6 parts, so it's kind of easier to get through. And I will say, I watched it in, I think, 3 sittings, and it kind of went by a lot faster than I thought it would go. This is a much faster movie than you would think with the 4 hours. It kind of flies by, because I was never really bored with this movie. There's moments in Batman v Superman and Man of Steel I kind of get a little bit bored. I was never really bored with anything in this movie. It always grabbed my attention, and even there's a couple of drawn out scenes. There's something with Aquaman when Batman tries to find him, then there's this whole thing with these people singing. That kind of went on for way too long. Also, the scene with Barry Allen and Iris West, that scene kind of goes on way too long. There's a couple of shots in that could have been completely omitted. There's literally a shot, I believe, of just a bagel seed for like 10 seconds. That could have been completely omitted. But with the 4-hour runtime and throwing on HBO Max, you might as well just put everything in it, to be honest with you. And I really never felt bored while watching the movie. So yes, this cut is a lot better than the theatrical version. However, one of the things that really shocked me that it was much better at was the character development. Especially with Cyborg. After watching this cut and the theatrical cut, Cyborg was completely screwed over in the theatrical cut compared to this. In this cut, he's given character development. You understand him more. He's given a lot more depth, especially when they bring him in his whole thing from the comics with his mother dying and his father turning him into the cyborg, and you get to see a lot of their relationship. None of that was in the theatrical cut. You get a lot more Cyborg in this, which Cyborg to me was one of the most underwhelming elements of the original cut. He kind of felt like he had nothing to do. In this cut, he's actually one of my favorite parts of the whole movie. So I was very pleasantly surprised by that. Flash, I kind of felt the same as I did in the theatrical. I'm not a big fan of Ezra Miller's take on him. I think he's goofy, which the Flash is, but he just takes it. There's some jokes even in this that I wasn't a fan of, like I kind of was in the theatrical. He takes it a little bit way too much over the top in some elements. But Wonder Woman was great. Batman was great. You already know Superman's in it. He was great. All the characters are given a lot more development. I will say Batman didn't get as much to do as I thought he would, especially compared with Batman v Superman and what they set up with him for this movie. Not as much as you would think it would be. Wonder Woman's great. I will say though, they have this woman every single time she comes on screen. They have this woman singing in the background, like, oh, like an operatic song, and it's like it's the same thing every single time she pops up. It kind of got annoying after a while. I'm like, can you please stop using that music cue every single time she would do an action scene or she would appear? They would always play this like operatic, and it was like the same thing every single time. Like, can you choose like a different thing to music? But then of course they also have her classic Batman v Superman the theme, and that was really cool to see. Now, Darkseid is it was really cool to see him in this movie, but he's not in it that much. But I can't really blame them. They kind of try to tease him more for a sequel, and I'm not going to spoil anything here, but some of the stuff that goes down the last like 20 to 30 minutes of this movie, especially in the epilogue, it sets up so much of a sequel. We might never get it, which is so sad because this movie demands a sequel. Some great stuff happens in the epilogue. There's one thing that happened. It happens in the movie besides the epilogue at one point, and then something reappears in the epilogue. I was so happy. I can't spoil anything. I'll have to do a spoiler review, but I was like on the edge of my seat that entire time. And I was like jumping like as a DC film, like it was so good. The third act of this movie is like night and day to the theatrical. In the theatrical cut, they rushed that way too fast, and you really didn't feel like anything of value happened at the end. Some really cool stuff happens the last 30 to 40 minutes of this movie. And the thing that surprises me the most is that Warner Brothers redid this whole ending, yet so much cooler stuff in the third act happens. Flash does some really cool stuff in the third act. It's just so shocking to me that Warner Brothers decided to cut a lot of this stuff from the movie. Also, one of the things I didn't like about the theatrical cut was that it felt like they never felt like a team. They never had that like team moment where they all came together. It kind of just felt like, oh, we're going to go on this mission, we're going to go on that mission. But they don't really feel like they became a team. This, you have that moment where they're like, we're a team now, let's do this. I will say, they don't become a team until about halfway through this cut. And you're probably like, oh, well, what's their team development then? I just felt like in this, they came together as a team a lot better, and it was a lot more well paid off. I don't really want to say too much, though. And there's some... the Superman scene where they fight him in the theatrical, that's still in here, and he still pretty much comes back the same way. But I think this fight scene with them versus him is so much better in this. You get a really cool moment that's as funny, I would say, as like in the theatrical cut when Superman looks at him at Flash. I think that still happens, but there's an equally funny moment that's added in here that's really funny during that scene. So Zack Snyder's Justice League, like I said, it's a lot better than the theatrical cut. However, there are a couple complaints I will give to it. Number one, some of the CGI at times wasn't really all that great. I will still take that Steppenwolf any day over the theatrical. I really like Steppenwolf's design in this. I will also say that he's given a lot more character development in this movie, but not by much. You understand his motivations more, but it's not enough that you're kind of still feel like, okay, he's just kind of like that villain they got to fight. But at least they gave him a little bit more motivation for why he was there. So the CGI wasn't that great in some moments. Like I said, it's Zack Snyder. He's always known for doing like long, drawn-out shots, and there are moments in this. Some scenes could have been cut down considerably, and it wouldn't like. There's like probably about a decent 30 minutes of just like long takes of just like keeping the camera on things that really didn't need to be in there, and they could have just cut those down, and it could have still been not really affected. But I mean, that's really all I got. I mean, this is a much better movie for anybody who thought that this wouldn't be different. It's a completely different movie than the theatrical cut. If you were denying or kind of going back and forth, you should watch it. I would watch it. It's especially interesting to see how they changed it and compare and contrast between the two. I'm going to give Zack Snyder's Justice League an 8 out of 10. I was really surprised by this movie, even though I was excited for it. It surprised me even on a level I didn't think it was going to surprise me. Yes, the 4 hour running time is long, but like I said, it kind of went fast for me, and I hope it does for you too. I had a great time watching this. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I know I haven't made a WandaVision review. I didn't make one, and I was going to, but I think that show already ended like 2 weeks ago. So I don't know if there's really much I can say about it that hasn't already been said. I will also say that I haven't watched the first episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier yet. I'm definitely gonna try to review that when that's over, the whole season. I'll get my thoughts on it. I'm gonna probably watch that either today or tomorrow, though. All right, guys. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you later.